A breakfast burrito that I would like it to be like is the way my mom makes it. She puts a ton of love into it, and every time I taste it, I feel like I'm in heaven. If you cook it just right, mwah, chef's kiss.
This is Alejandro Najera, an 11-year-old food connoisseur who is among a growing number of kids fighting to win free and nutritious school meals for all students. He's up against politicians like this.
Hunger is a relative term, Mr. President. You know, I had a cereal bar for breakfast. I guess I'm hungry now.
Yes, I can understand kids going hungry, but is that really the problem of the school district? Is that the problem of the state of North Dakota?
I'm still a no vote on this because this is, again, a personal responsibility issue and not a starvation issue.
Listening to these Republicans, you'd have no idea that more than 9 million children in the U.S. experience food insecurity. But for the students who don't have enough food to eat, it's impossible to ignore.
You're talking about students, peers, in critical times of their life, in critical stages of their life, middle school, elementary school, you never know what's going on at home. And children have to face the reality of that in the lunch line.
This is a story about how red tape prevents kids from meeting one of their most basic needs. But it's also a story about how those kids are taking matters into their own hands and winning.
I do know that some people avoid lunch because they don't want to have a negative balance account, and that to me just kind of like, wow, we're really changing the atmosphere of the lunchroom. Like, this is not even like a place where you can relax. You have to now have another assignment in the lunchroom, which is to pay this off.
The problem boils down to 2 words: means testing. It's a wonky phrase that might make your eyes glaze over, but it's keeping kids from getting the food they need to learn and grow. Let's break it down. Currently, the U.S. Department of Agriculture reimburses schools for providing free meals to students in dire need, which they characterize as students in households with incomes as low as about $23,000 for a family of 2. So a family of 4 that makes $37,000, for example, is forced to pay for school meals with money they don't have. The result? Meal debt that follows you throughout the year.
It costs $61,000 to be able to pay just basic living expenses. So we know there's kids in that gap who aren't eligible for free meals, but whose families are struggling a little bit to make sure they can cover their expenses.
Well, there are some kids who don't really have that much money, so maybe they won't have any money for school lunches. But if kids have a free lunch, then everyone could eat the lunch.
Students who don't qualify for free meals are charged for the food they get from the cafeteria, whether they can afford to pay off those charges or not. Across the U.S., tens of millions of dollars in unpaid meal debt weigh heavily on school districts, families, and individual kids.
Of course, some people can go home and just ask for some money, but other people, they can't go home and say, hey mom, can I have some money to put in my lunch account when mom's struggling with groceries, let alone paying, things to sustain the household.
When families aren't able to pay for their school meals and the school cafeterias end up with meal debt that the family can't pay, it becomes the responsibility of the public school district to pay off that debt. So that's going to be money that's coming out of teacher salaries and purchasing books and all of the things that contribute to the curriculum working well ends up having to pay that debt.
Our current system is a lose-lose. It excludes food-insecure students who don't meet the strict financial qualifications for free school meals, while also alienating those who do meet them.
While we really do put a lot of practices and things in place to not overtly identify kids, to not have them feel any shame to come through the line and be getting a free meal, the reality is they just do. Kids should not go to school and feel like they're going to be stigmatized and set aside as being different from their peers. So you really do want to have a program where everybody is able to participate equally.
Means testing also creates administrative headaches for schools, as staff are required to monitor hundreds or even thousands of meal accounts on a daily basis. As each child's meal account is monitored and charged, long lines become the norm.
If students have to wait in line for a long time, and if the serving process takes a long time, students will give up on eating.
When we have students who maybe walk into class and they didn't have a full lunch yet, they're not ready to study and to learn and grow with their peers. and be able to go out in the world and make that impact.
They're not going to be able to participate in the classroom, and it's not good for them, and it's not good for us as a society.
Lunch is important because you have to eat something during the day. You can't just go through the entire school day starving.
It's not good for anyone when kids miss out on school meals, especially when they're the only meals a lot of kids can rely on. But as we've seen in cafeterias across the country, that's exactly what's happening. So what's the alternative? What happens when free school meals are universal? We actually ran that experiment when the federal government waived its means testing requirements during the first 2 years of the pandemic, making it possible for schools to serve all students free of charge.
During the pandemic, when we had the free school meals, you didn't have to register for the free meals. You didn't have to show proof of income. It was kind of like when the bell rang, you came down to lunch and everyone went to the lunch line together to get lunch.
We didn't have to process applications. We didn't have to follow up with families to get proof that the income that they had submitted was correct.
The USDA's system of means testing resumed last summer. But for 2 years, eating free school meals was no longer a red badge of economic hardship. Students could freely come together to break bread.
There's just so much research that shows when kids participate in the school lunch program, absenteeism goes down, behavior issues go away, trips to the school nurse decrease, academic scores increase, athletic performance is better, and yes, there's a price tag to it, but there's a price tag to a lot of things we do, and this is important. These are our children. The fact that we are talking about this today, the fact that we got a chance to test it and find out it works really, really well, we have a momentum now that we have not seen ever before.
Since pandemic-era universal school meals ended, states across the country have advanced bills to make this much-needed resource permanent. So far this year, Minnesota and New Mexico have passed universal school meal laws, joining California, Maine, and Colorado. New Mexico's law establishes students' universal right to free, fresh, and minimally processed school meals. Guess who pushed that bill over the finish line?
It's a neighborly day in this neighborhood. If I gotta be honest, I was still surprised. I didn't think that a little speech at my school would end up making the bill pass.
If this bill is passed, then we'll be able to have better lunches that are fresher, that taste better, that is overall more enjoyable.
So we went to the cafeteria. I sat next to Senators Leo Jaramillo and Michael Padilla. And I also sat next to the governor, who is Michelle Lujan Grisham. I was sitting there with a bunch of school students all around us, waiting for the bill to be signed. And while Michelle Lujan Grisham was explaining about what the bill is and what happens when they sign it, I was thinking in my head, oh my God, I can't wait for this to happen. I was surprised because this doesn't happen every day. Like, you don't wake up expecting to meet the governor or be a part of something so important to schools. And not only is it going to help me, but it's going to help schools all over New Mexico. In my head, I was thinking, okay, this has got to be a dream. I have a feeling I might be dreaming.
New Mexico's universal school meals law allocates $20 million for schools to upgrade their kitchens so meals can be cooked from scratch. It also awards funding to school districts that improve meals by doing things like supporting local farms, serving culturally relevant foods, and giving kids and families a say over cafeteria menus.
So the kids are going out as classrooms to be part of gardening, and we have had conversations of menu planning. So we talk about what foods do they want to see in our garden.
So we have a garden near the soccer field and near the basketball court. It has 4 to 5 beds full of dirt, and we last year we planted some radishes and some spinach so we could have it.
I'm gonna have you do the same thing on this side. I believe that this Senate Bill 4 is really going to help local farmers within our community. It's going to create more opportunities, more jobs, and we're able to also help any families that are local farmers here at our school, because we want to start with them and offering them jobs and opportunities as well.
So drop it in, cover her, give her
Love you.
besito, besito.
We have these kids in school, we have this opportunity to make sure they've got access to things that'll help them be healthy, healthy kids and growing into healthy adults, and to not take advantage of that opportunity to help them be the best people they can be just seems to me to be just a huge waste.
Learning how to grow your food is the most beautiful, impactful, and gracious thing we can do. It is sacred when it's grown, especially by hands like yours.
The message I would want to give to national leaders is for them to understand the gravity of their power first, so that they understand the change that they can enable to happen.
I just hope that they also do the same that we in New Mexico did, to make all states have free and fresh food, because that would help kids around the world or around the country.